I wish I had made a series out of it. I would have been able to explore Mr. Savarkar more.
Hansal Mehta was rejected by every platform in India. People who violate your self-respect, your freedom, do not belong to any particular ideology, do not belong to any particular party.
I hope you guys are also drinking espressos.
A very warm welcome to all of you to this really special moment. I'm privileged to share the stage with two artists of the caliber of Hansal Mehta and Randeep Hooda. Both of them are similar and also different. They are similar in the sense that both of you started out as outsiders to the industry. And then both of them are similar in the excellence with which they have traced a very, very vivid arc. And one of them you started out as an actor, and now you made your name in every film that you did. You lifted the film because the characters that you played jumped out of the screen because of the kind of immersion in your roles that you did. From there, last year you've now ventured into being a director as well as a producer and a writer.
Unwillingly.
And Hansal Mehta, of course, started with a food show, gave us our first celebrity chef in Sanjeev Kapoor, and then became an national award winner with Shahid, and then conquered the streaming space with so many long-form storytelling formats, so many shows that have done so well. They are also different, like I said. Last year, Randeep made Savarkar, a biopic of Savarkar, and Hansal's current project is on Gandhi. So, so they are also very different.
You have Gandhi and Savarkar
Yes.
together on.
So, first of all, before we begin, I just want to say thank you to both of you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for the art. And then to Hansal first, a double thank you. When I was preparing to do this conversation with you, I came across a blog that you put up after you watched Thappad. And that was in, I think, 2020. And I'll just read out from what you said. You watched the film and you wrote about the film, the way it was crafted. There was a lot of generous praise for the filmmaking. And then you ended with this. You said, to all the women in my life, to my wife, my mother, my sister, my daughter, my ex-wife, my girlfriends, I know it is late, but better late than never. Sorry. Sorry if I have let my entitlement stifle your growth. Sorry if I have let my patriarchal conditioning render me insensitive to your needs. Sorry if I have been an asshole. I want to ask you, why did you write that?
You see, that is the power of good cinema. It provokes you, it makes you uh, think, introspect, and say things that maybe you would not articulate otherwise. So yeah, I would have never said sorry to my ex-wife, but there I was. No, but the film was very powerful. It was a very, very powerful. It was a very powerful film, and that's what good films do to you. And I don't remember writing this because my writing is all stream of consciousness. I don't look back. I don't edit it. I don't look back at what I've written. So very often my blogs go with grammatical errors.
So, to me, when I read it, it seemed rare. It was a very rare thing for two reasons. One is, of course, this acknowledgement of the women in your life and where you might have made a mistake with them, and your ability to say sorry after watching this powerful film. The second was the kind of generous praise you showered on the filmmaker, Anubhav Sinha. And I remember reading something else that you had written after you watched Heather, where you again you praised Vishal Bhardwaj for the craft, and you also said that I think you said something of the kind that it was not a film that was written; it was a film that was painted. I want to ask you, and I also want Randeep to come in on this. I mean, isn't this unusual, the generosity towards your contemporaries, or is this easy? Does this come more often?
I'll tell you a secret. So, I praised Anubhav because he was producing my next film. And Vishal because, if it was not for Vishal, I wouldn't have been a filmmaker. They've been an integral part of my journey. So I've written in the first paragraph of that blog, Anubhav is somebody I used to resent because when we got into, doing television, we got into this business, the guy had a Toyota. And matlab, we were struggling to pay for a rickshaw. The guy had a Toyota, so he always pissed me off. By the time, so I was actually, thappad. I owed him one for being resentful then, and then for wanting to produce my next film. But no, it was a very powerful film, and so was Haider. I mean, Vishal, we worked together. He was a composer. He wrote his first script for me. And from that time, when both of us did not know how to write, from that time to today, the kind of filmmaker he has become, that journey is so inspiring.
But Randeep, is it easy to get praise for from your contemporaries?
In a public platform, it's very rare. I don't know why, but it seems like the sense of camaraderie that should be there, and art is a kind of a field where it should not be competitive because it's very individualistic. You cannot. It's not like sports. Either you win or lose. It's a very opinion-based thing. So in that, I think there should be more praise forthcoming. And I have also felt that about my own work. And then I've also noticed that how many other people's work are you praising, or are you going out and making a big deal about it? So it is something which we as a fraternity have to kind of, get into it without the next person producing your next film or any of those things. That's very natural to happen. But apart from that, I think if there is a good piece of work which you like, you should voice it. Hansal is very active on social media. I am not so active anymore. I have cracked a few jokes that have cost me a lot. So I've kind of refrained from it. But yes, that should definitely be the case. More pats on the back, more encouragement. And I think the best encouragement that can come your way is, apart from the audience, is your peers. Once your peers respect you and they talk highly of your work, and they are also the people that you can sit and discuss your work with or their work with. And it's always a learning curve. But it's very rare, I must say.
Randeep, we had Manoj Vajpayee at an Express event a few months ago, I think. So he said something. He said that there are two kinds of actors. There are one kind of actors who go to the character that they are playing, and the other who let the character come to them. Now, you obviously are the first kind who goes to the characters. I mean, there are stories about you, about how you did not speak to Alia Bhatt when we were shooting for Highway because on screen she should find you strange. And
that was more to help her than me,
okay,
to
yeah.
tell you the truth.
But then there are all the weight loss stories, the physical transformations, that I think for Battle of Saragadi, which never got released for 3 years, you didn't, I think you grew a beard and you refused to shave.
I didn't cut my cash. Yeah.
Yes. Then you lost, it is said, about 32 kgs for Savarkar. So was this a conscious choice you made at the beginning of your career to be the actor who goes to the characters rather than lets them come to him? Or do you think this is the only way to do it?
I think I am very highly influenced by Nasir Saab, and he is very influenced by Kendall Saab from the Shakespeare Wala. And their thing is that you stand behind the character and let the character do the thing. So imbibing that and somewhere my own personality, uh, I always wanted to do that kind of work. In fact, there used to be this channel called ETC in the beginning of 2000s, and I used to sit and watch the promos on that, and I said, I don't fit in any movie. So what am I going to do? So then Company came about, which was a fantastic film from Ram Gopal Varma, and I said maybe I could do that. And then I used to watch a lot of these Francois Truffaut and all these movies, and then when you go on to actual work, it's a different kind of work. So there was a lot of disparity in it. So there was a point of time where I decided that I'm going to do the work the way I enjoy it, the way I feel that I am actually putting some effort into it, putting myself into it. And it's not that I choose a role and say, Kiare, I'm going to method act this role or lose weight for this role. I get the role and then I realize, oh my God, I would go through that. It's an afterthought, really. But I feel certainly that to earn your bread, so to speak, or to earn your money, um, you're giving your heart and soul to it. So what happens is it's not just I don't know these theoretical things where you go coming to the character or let the character come to you. It's basically that if you've got an accent or you've got a certain physicality or you've got a certain way of thought process, you just try and make that a part of your life 24/7 so that you don't have to go and act when the shot's on. So it's just more for yourself and it's a very personal thing. I never impose that on my co-workers or my directors or anything. It's a very personal thing. But I think that's where my joy lies, and it's not the only joy. I mean, people can do it in a different way, which has the same result. I think no director is really interested in your process. They just want the result. So after feeling lonely about it in many, many movies, I decided that, hey, I don't need anybody. In fact, I've never had much of a conversation with a director on set ever. I've already done my homework, we already discussed everything. And when it comes to that, I don't really know what I'm going to do in a scene, ever. It's just all those things that you've been thinking and doing. And it has taken me, like in Highway, I was probably getting about 40% of what I was doing off screen, on screen. So the whole journey is getting more of it on screen and suffering less off screen. So that balance has been very hard, but I'm somewhere getting it. And Adil Hussain, who I worked in a couple of movies, said that I have to stop doing it because it's really affecting me. My family feels the same, but I don't know. That's the joy to be somebody else in this lifetime that's not going to have any real life consequences.
But if it's that intense a process, is there an after effect? Is there a hangover?
Oh, there's a lot of hangovers. Like my smile changed after I played Charles Sobraj. Even today, so did my finesse with the girls. Then, while Savarkar, I'd lost so much weight and I'd broken my leg, and he was in Kalapani for so long. Even now, I find myself on set walking around like that till I have to say, no, you're not playing that. So there is a lot of hangover, and there is a lot of things you carry back with you. But I think the only way and the best way to get out of it is to get another part and work towards that. Then you lose everything else. So in the West, they have these classes or these workshops where you kind of detox yourself. But like our army does not have PTSD because it's a Western concept. Poor people don't have depression. Hence, Indian actors don't need those workshops to kind of wash out the character. You just move on to the other one.
Hansal, in Aligarh, there is a sequence where Manoj Vajpayee is sitting, Professor Siras or Cyrus? Siras. He's this, I mean, for those who've not watched the film, it's a film about a gay professor in Aligarh.
It's a wonderful film.
Yes, it's a beautiful film. So I'm talking about one particularly I'm talking about one particularly beautiful sequence in it. So he's sitting on his chair and he's pouring himself a drink. And you see him first through a mirror, then you see his close ups. And there is the song, Lata's song, playing in the background. Aapki nazaron ne samjha, pyar ke kabil mujhe. And he sings along for some parts that he probably remembers. Other places, he's silent and the camera is just on his face. Uh, I think there's also he's tapping his feet also. It's just such a poignant, such a beautiful sequence. I think it's about, I don't know, 4 to 5 minutes, and it sort of just captured the essence of, the man, the torment, his identity, his what was happening to him. Uh, what I wanted to ask you is, what was behind that sequence? Was it that so many times, and it's not just Professor Siras, it is also, I think, each one of us, we find that there are so many things that we cannot find words for, which the Hindi song actually helps us with. There's so many emotions, so many unsaid things, and then you find a song which says it for you. Were you thinking of using the song like that?
No, actually, uh, it was a moment in the script which was scripted for the second half of the film, where he's in a new house and uh, he's getting dressed, and there's a song playing in the background. And on the script, it was written that he's listening to a Kishore Kumar song. So we had time actually. My
So yeah, why did it have to be that song?
No, so we had time, and so my assistant came. We have 2 hours before the shift ends. Do you want to do that? It's a small scene. I said, okay, let's do that. So I spoke to my cinematographer. He said, I want to take a shot in the mirror. How about, he's doing whatever he's doing. And Manoj said, I want to drink whiskey in the shot. So first of all, they changed everything. So Manoj said, I'll drink whiskey in the shot. I'll put a cube of ice. मैं whiskey पीऊँगा. And cinematographer wanted to take a shot of Manoj in silhouette through the mirror. I said, ठीक है चलो कर लेते. It was so. The point is, I was also exploring. So Manoj said कि गाना कौन सा लगाएगा किशोर कुमार का. I said किशोर कुमार नहीं यार, लता मंगेशकर. It was, we were shooting in Bareilly. It was very cold, and it was quite late at night. So Lata Mangeshkar is my go-to companion for life. Whenever I feel lonely, whenever I feel low, her voice is like medicine. She is, the soothing influence in my life. Always her voice, especially her songs with Madan Mohan. So I said, ये गाना लगाते फिर देखते हैं, because it was being produced by a studio. We had to, these rights cost a lot of money. Lata Mangeshkar songs, Madan Mohan, and Sare Gama, they uh, take so much of money, and I won't say fleece you, because I mean that song is, you know, invaluable. You cannot put a price to something so beautiful. So I said, Manoj, ये गाना लगा रहा हूँ, तू सुन ले. What happened then was we put on the song and we shot for 7 minutes, and it was in the mirror. And the cameraman was in the mirror. We cut, and all I was seeing was a silhouette. And I was looking at Manoj while he was doing it. And I realized that something, it was the second day of shoot, that we found the character there. We realized what the film was through that one shot. So, which is why we set up a close up then. We took 3 shots. We finished the entire thing in 3 shots, but we discovered the film. It was earlier a film about a professor's death, an investigation into a professor who was suspended because of his sexual orientation. It was an investigation. It suddenly became a film about loneliness, so about isolation. So वो second day पे एक आपको that song and that moment, Manoj's eyes. So the cameraman, when we shifted to the close up, he took 2.5 hours to light it up. I said, यार इतना time क्यों ले रहा है, अभी तो shoot कर चुका है. So he said, no, I'm lighting his eyes. He was a genius, the cameraman, Satya Rai Nagpal. So Satya was lighting his eyes. And the magic, Manoj has very deep set eyes. So very often in many of his films, you don't see his eyes that clearly, and his eyes are very, very expressive. If you see them on screen, he needs. So he lit up his eyes, and then suddenly you saw that melancholy in his eyes. You saw that loneliness, and जो मनोज ने आपको कहा था कि you go to the character, character comes to you. I think it is somewhere एक point के बाद you don't know whether the character is coming to you or going to the character, and that was that moment when the lines were blurred. There's no theory. The lines were blurred. We found the character, and उसके बाद it was a cakewalk because you had discovered. You found the character. You can discuss for hours. What does he think? How does he work? वो कैसे होगा? Everything. But that one moment changes something within you. It changed something in all of us.
The story of the professor, of course, was our story, Indian Express. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
really?
Yeah,
Deepu,
yeah.
Deepu
Well,
Sebastian.
Yeah, Deepu
I'll
Sebastian.
just like to add something to that. Oftentimes, especially film school people and a lot of the audience think, oh, this shot was taken for this and da 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 da. There's a big whole hoopla that is made about it. Usually it's like time's running out, we don't have anything else to do, we start doing something, we discover something, and something happens. So a lot of these very fantastical moments, I feel, are the unplanned ones. Even as an actor, you didn't plan on something, and all of a sudden something happens in the scene, and that thing is what lends itself to the magic, so to speak.
We had a moment in Shahid where the two lawyers, the public prosecutor and Shahid, who's the defense, they're arguing for somebody arrested under Tada.
Yeah.
And it's a big offense. It's the Mumbai riots. He's a Muslim character. Big argument. The argument gets over because the judges just got up and walked away. So it was very spontaneous. I just whispered to him कि आप उधर निकल जाना. So he just gets up and walks. And I said, we'll see how they react. So both of them reacted this way, and they start putting files in their bags. So Vipin Sharma was a very fine actor. So he looks, कि अच्छा sandwich लायो, मुझे खाना दो. They were fighting like cats and dogs. And suddenly he asks him for food. ये क्या लायो? So you suddenly realize that, everything, ultimately, no matter how passionate you are, there's a professional element and there's a personal element which, gets blurred. You could be very intense when you see that person on the screen. Maybe when you say cut, things change. Maybe you'll just go unwind, start dancing, starts waltzing. So it's, that's the magic of filmmaking. That it's filmmaking is the best way of discovering the world, of discovering people, of traveling the world without really having to travel.
You said somewhere that craft is overrated. You said that films like the two films that we just mentioned, Aligarh and Shahid, that these films don't come out of craft; they come out of, I think you said, love and freedom. So, do you still have the same love? But more importantly, do you still have the same freedom?
Well, it's a very broad topic, and
That's a
I
googly.
I keep getting into trouble for my views. But we've had the Supreme Court telling us today about how freedom of expression is so important. People should be allowed to say what they want, and it's a moment of, it's a celebratory moment. When I read what the court said today, you suddenly have hope. You say, in all the darkness, there's always this glimmer of hope, and that glimmer of hope comes from storytellers. It comes from performers. It comes from people who live lives beyond their own. And I think freedom comes from that. It's the freedom that you feel, not the freedom that you're given. So I think freedom is more about ourselves than about the freedom that you have been given, because that is artificial freedom that a government gives you, that the laws give you. There's a freedom that you give yourself to express, to feel, to say things in a certain way, to feel the way you do about other people. And that freedom to me is paramount.
So, uh, on the the recent controversy or the episode with Kunal Kamra, so the attack on him, you spoke up. You had a exchange with Kangana Ranaut also. But I'm not asking you about that. What I'm interested in is something else. You also said that 25 years ago you faced the mob yourself, and that the mob came to you, publicly humiliated you, made you apologize for one sentence in a film. And what I want to ask you is about what you said after that. You said that that humiliation stayed with you, that it bruised your spirit, and that it made you a different kind of filmmaker, and that it took you a long time to reclaim your own freedom from that episode. This is something we don't hear about. There's an episode, there's a mob attack, and then we move on to the next one. What happens to the person who has been attacked, the filmmaker, the artist? How does it stay and linger on, this kind of targeting?
Yeah, I mean, now these things have names, you know, PTSD, and there's a lot more information. At that time, the only medicine I knew was alcohol. But no, I mean, I was broken at that time. I was very broken because uh, one, I had a film that had failed. And 4 weeks later, when you're dealing with financial losses, people enter your office, they vandalize the office, they paint your face black, and then they tell you कि कल आना माफ़ी मांगने. I said, और कितनी माफ़ी मांगू आपसे? They said, नहीं कल आना, because they had to create a bigger public spectacle. So I was made to apologize in front of 10,000 people. And the apology was not the issue. The issue is, I later on realized that, you know, uh, people who violate your self respect, your freedom, do not belong to any particular ideology, do not belong to any particular party. They do not, they are unfortunately surrounded, they are engulfed in the greed of power, and they are nameless, faceless cowards. It took me time to realize that I was not the coward. I was attacked by cowards. And the moment I realized that, I found my voice.
But Aligarh was, no, Shahid was 2012, Aligarh was 2015. Would you be able to make an Aligarh and a Shahid today?
Well, of course, it's I don't, that, you see, that kind of restriction has been there. Shahid was made before 2014. It won a national award in 2014, the very year that the world claims that India changed. Yes, every new establishment there is change, positive, negative, whatever. But the state trying to control the narrative is not something new. Why are we behaving like it is some new franchise that has opened up?
It's more in your face because of the social media.
It's always been there. It's been there since emergency. Pre-emergency it must have been there. So it's been there. I think I find that adversity very positive. Adversity creates great art. It's an opportunity and not a hindrance. The issue is that we see it as a hindrance. It is not a hindrance. I keep telling people, you will find newer ways to tell your stories. You will find newer ways to be critical. You will find newer ways to awaken the people, to awaken and to provoke and to ensure discourse and debate.
It's like having lesser money to make a movie is actually ends up that adversity, you end up applying yourself more, and you end up with a more cinematic movie because you did not have the money to do certain things. As far as this expression of freedom goes, I think, like Hansal said, that there's a freedom given by laws, the government, and all that, your own morality, for that matter. But I believe that what true freedom is, that we've got three sides to us, all of us. One side to us is when we are in a public gathering like this. One side is when we are with our family and friends. And one side is when we are absolutely alone. And I think the real freedom comes if you can be that one person in all three situations. That would be real freedom. And that is where you are really free of other people's judgments and true to yourself. It's very rare. Something I try to be, but it's very rare. It's impossible, rather.
So you talked of being free of judgments. Last year, your film released, the biopic of Savarkar. When you've been asked about why you made this biopic, and your answer has been that it is the unsungness of Savarkar that appealed to you to tell the story that you thought was not being told. So, were you not apprehensive when you started this, that judgment that you talked about, that this would not be free of judgment, your choice of making Savarkar in a time like this? I think it released in 2024, just ahead of the Lok Sabha election.
Well, a lot of people told me, advised me to not get into this kind of a subject, which urged me more to read about it, to read about him. And there's a joke in Haryanvi. सुना दो एक बैग गांव वाला शहर ते उल्टा आवा है तो पूरा गांव खाली बोले कड़े गए भाई सारे बोले वो बांदर के पाछे लाग रहे हैं बोले सारा गांव बांदर के पाछे लाग रहे हैं बोलते हाँ बोले बांदर की साइड कौन है बोला कोई नहीं बोले अच्छा मैं बांदर की साइड So it was that kind of a situation. He was so maligned, and when I read Vikram's Sampat's book and other books on him, I realized that why are we not aware of this in public discourse? And the fact that a lot of my well-wishers did not want me to get into it just enticed me to do it. Maybe the Jat I am, and Jat playing a Maharashtrian, and that too Savarkar is, and there's a movie called Jat being made where I'm playing Sri Lankan. So that's life. So when I took it on, I somewhere knew that there is going to be a lot of opposition to it. I went through a whole lot of hell to make it, which I don't want to keep singing about. And it so happened that it released in the elections. I wanted to release it 6 months earlier. When it released in the elections, it was tainted as a propaganda film. And I was just flabbergasted, sitting and listening to people and thinking, who sells their house and loses 32 kilos to make a propaganda film? I want to know that patriot. I want to meet that patriot. So there was a lot of things, there was a lot of things within the industry also that I felt. But if a movie can be made on Mahatma Gandhi, a movie can be made on Mr. Savarkar as it can be made on anybody else. So when a lot of people were giving me flack about it, I said, okay, if I had made a movie about Mr. Nehru, for example, I would be as diligent, I'll be doing it as much, as sincerely as possible as I did Mr. Savarkar's story. So that was the thing, and it was it is in sync with what he faced in his life. He was very misunderstood. He was a very profound thinker, which a lot of people did not get, and all those things. So there was a bit of a thing, but then, एक कहावत होती है कि ओखली में सर दे दिया तो मुसलों से क्या डरना, तो खींच दिया मीटर उसका भी. I made the film I wanted to make. I made the film that I understood. I made the film where I was angry about the fact that all of our freedom struggle is brought down to 2-3 names and only to non-violence, which was not the case. What it has done to the world, it has given a very napunsak image of India, which we are not. We are not going to give you our other cheek after you slap one of our cheeks, We are going to break your face the moment you think of trying to slap our cheek. So that's the kind of an attitude which I think, and it's very prevalent today. What Mr. Savarkar had always propagated is very prevalent today. Today, we are not just a great power in the world just because of our diplomacy or our PR campaigns. We are a great power in the world because we are armed to the teeth. We are making our own weapons. You know, we are forced to reckon with, and that is what the opposing thought of Mr. Savarkar was to Mr. Gandhi's, let's say, or the whole Congress party, of being non-violence, and that's what is the key. And Mr. Savarkar said when he wrote Hindutva, I read Hindutva, and the first 40 pages of Hindutva is about Buddhism. I was shocked. What is this man saying? So he believed that he also liked non-violence. He thought Buddha was the biggest apostle to walk this planet. But he said that the world is not full of green mountains, blue rivers, and pink flowers. There are people with red fangs ready to rip you out. So where is the caveat for self-defense in non-violence? And that was the whole thing. And keeping all these things in mind, I felt that I should take it upon myself to tell that story the best I could. And I gave it my all. And I also got a lot of appreciation, not just a lot of judgment over it.
Absolutely. So Randeep felt he had to make Savarkar because it was the call of the moment, maybe the political moment we are in right now, or a larger social cultural moment that he feels we are in. Why are you making Gandhi? And also, Gandhi has been made so much. So what about Gandhi is it that
Not by Hansal.
No, I also see my approach to characters is to not judge them. I look at the character's journey, and try to, because you see, my takeaway from a Savarkar, from a Gandhi would be different from his takeaway. And that is the beauty of art, that everybody interprets. A painting can be interpreted in thousand ways. Every Everybody who looks at it, the beholder interprets it in his way. He perceives beauty the way he has been conditioned to perceive beauty, or perhaps he'll be forced to look at beauty differently. And that's the beauty of art. That's why art is so important in the most difficult of times. And so for me, Gandhi was that. I mean, I'm a big admirer of Gandhi, but diving into Gandhi to understand the man, the human being. The problem is that we have our approach to biographies is to either make the person it's either a hagiography, or it is you are completely rubbishing the person. There's no, it's black or white. There is an in between where the human being is being shown without judgment, with all his flaws, with all his goodness, with all his learnings. So Gandhi was that, Gandhi is a man, his story is about uh, flaws, mistakes, and learning from them. So it's about how that applies to our daily lives, about learning from your mistakes and growing above them, about mobilization, about making your story, about your moment, making it an inspiration for so many people. So I found that fascinating. I found his journey mostly untold in all the telling that I have seen so far of Gandhi. Of course, Sir Richard Attenborough's grand film. It was a grand film. It's a lovely film. It made the world aware of Gandhi in '82. But I think in today's times, Gandhi is as necessary, or perhaps more necessary than a Savarkar. It's a time that we need to rediscover the value of self introspection and the value of empathy for yourself and empathy for the world around us. That we have forgotten empathy. We have forgotten those basic values. And I think Gandhi's story is about that. It's about learning. So, which is why, I mean, I've made a film on uh, Omar Sheikh, the man who allegedly killed Daniel Pearl. And I again saw that without judgment. I saw it. People said it's a clinical film. I said, yes, I don't want to sympathize with the guy. He's finally a butcherer. So I don't want to sympathize with him. At the same time, I don't want to paint him black. I want to see, understand, I want to get into the mind of a man who was responsible for some of the most heinous crimes of our modern times. You know, so you find ways of telling these stories. When I made a film called Faraz, which was based on the Holy Artisan bakery attack in Dhaka, 2016, people said, why are you making a film about Dhaka and in Hindi? I said, because it is not a film about that one attack. It is about the battle between the dangers of majoritarianism. I cannot tell that story in India about majoritarianism without being completely judged. But the moment I take another majoritarian country and talk about the conflict between two sections of the same majority, there's a possibility of thought, there's a possibility of discourse. The problem here is that before you even watch the film, you judge it. You judge it because you perceive its politics in a particular way, because you are fed the social media machinery feeds uh, they feed shit to you and you become shit-headed. Sorry.
I'm very glad that you're making a series out of Gandhi. A lot of people have told me about Savarkar because I was fighting for time in the movie. I had so much more to say about him, but I had this where the project started from, where I was just an actor in it, and it came on to. By that time, I had no decision on it. But when I because of the lengthy material and because of the complexities of how none of these historical characters were just one tone or one person. We are talking about 70, 60, at least, let's say from 1900s, like at least 47 years. Even I have evolved from 5 years ago. They must have evolved as they went along. The circumstances changed. People, their friendships, alignments, their things, everything kept changing. And that was the most interesting part. So looking back, I would say that I wish I had made a series out of it. I would have been able to explore Mr. Savarkar more. Though in this, I did not try and paint him completely white. He was full of flaws. But cinema, the film itself gave me too less a time. My first cut was 4 hours, 30 minutes. And which I shot.
Only Anurag Kashyap can get away with that.
Oh, I was told to release it in two parts, but I said my first part does not have Kala Pani, does not have the apparently
Gangs
Muslim
of Savarkar.
gangs of Savarkar. That would have been good actually, because these guys were gangsters, where they were all in touch with each other in secret organizations. But yes, as Hansal said, it's very easy to paint them black and white. It's very hard and to address them and to even look at it from a human point of view, which is very hard in this country. Yeah.
No, I think it's important that we, understand that we are chronicling our times. 50 years later, 100 years later, there's a generation that will be fed with a certain. You see, election campaigns and politicians have a tendency to change history according to their convenience. But you cannot wipe out what is recorded, what is there on screen, what is there on celluloid, what you have already made. So it is important for us to chronicle our times. It is as important to tell Savarkar's story as it is to tell Gandhi's. For generations in the future to understand the times that this country has been through. Otherwise, I mean, it will all be lost in the rhetoric and the greed of people who don't give a damn about the people who are listening to it.
Are you consciously trying to talk to the young? Like when you made Savarkar, for instance.
I did.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
you brought rap into the movie,
Sorry?
didn't you? Rap music.
I brought rap into the movie. I made the movie like the with very modern ways of making a movie. I got my background score scored in France for it. Even the camera movements and all that, I had a lot of handheld. because I saw the Richard Attenborough's Gandhi. It was all still, classic frames, big movie. I said, if that's a movie about of a guy who's non-violent, I'm making a movie about a guy whose thought process is so violent. So I wanted to bring a lot of that, and yes, I wanted to talk a lot to the young people, and I think I got across to a lot of young people. I saw reports and news and even people talking to me that a lot of young people are picking up books and reading about Savarkar. Whether you agree with him, disagree with him, that's a separate story. But at least I made people curious about him, which was something which I felt that I achieved. And it is the young, it is the young that you're talking to. People who already admire Savarkar or hate Savarkar, those people are going to sit on, they're not going to change, they're not going to watch it or watch it and admire it to another level. So it is the people who don't know much about them, which say, okay, and I did not call him Veer in the movie at all. It is for the audience to decide. But I present the facts the way, in my point of view, how I see it. And it's very important because in today's times, nobody's reading books. My nephew's here. He's not reading a book. He's always watching things or. So when people are not reading books, then what are they doing? They're watching things. And when they're watching things, what are they doing? They're watching these things. They're watching my movie, Hansal's series, or some reel made on Instagram. So that is their way of acquiring knowledge. And history, I just want to say this. History the truth of history depends on who is telling it. There is no, today's incident, your point of view to this room is towards me. My point of view, the room is towards you. So in the same room, we don't have the same point of view. So can you imagine how history can be? History is written by the winner. Imagine the lion writing the history once he's shot dead. Well, this hunter came up. First, he fired a shot. His hands were shaking. It hit the tree. And I almost got him, but then he got my leg. And I was crawling away, and he came. So it's a different history. And when the hunter writes it, well, I saw this beautiful lion. And he was standing there majestically. He was roaring at me, coming at me, and I just shot him. So it's the same incident. It depends on who's writing it. And history is usually written by the winner. So we should definitely look at other documents, other research, like I looked at the National Archives, I looked at a lot of British documents for another point of view at Savarkar, which was not presented to us. Similarly, but I don't know if everybody has this time or inclination to explore these things. So this chronicalization of history through pieces of work that we are both on opposing sides are involved in is probably going to be the fodder, as you say, for the future.
So when you retell Gandhi, are you also keeping a young audience in mind? And if so, does that influence your storytelling?
I think it's not just a young audience. You're talking to an audience that is global now, because when you're making a series, it is going to be streaming. It's streaming worldwide. So you're talking to a global audience. You're talking. So you have to. The cinematic language has to keep up with the times. It has to, and ultimately it has to be honest. I think it's about honesty, authenticity. It's about writing. And I mean, it's like Harshad Mehta's story was told in a particular way. Otherwise, who wants a financial thriller, a financial drama actually? So it was, Harshad Mehta was rejected by every platform in India. They said we don't want a financial drama. Some of them refused to even watch it. Sony Live took a gamble because they had very few shows. They took a gamble, and it's become uh, that this the greatest pride of my life and also my Achilles heel. Because wherever I go, I go to buy a car, and when I get the keys of the car, the scam music plays, and I tell them, listen, this is very inappropriate because this is scam. Are you scamming me? I'm paying money for this car. Are you bloody scamming me? So, but
It was a great tune.
it was a great tune. So, I mean, we made. So, I made Subhash Chandra Bose. I was show running it for Ekta Kapoor. And we made Bose Dead or Alive. Rajkumar Rao
Yeah, 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 yeah.
played Bose, and so we used. I felt, what do I do to make Bose come alive for a younger audience? So we used a filmmaker called Q, who made a film called Gandu, and who later on made a film called Garbage. Uh, so yeah, so no, he did not direct it. So Q gave the music for Bose. He's a
Oh,
very
wow.
good. He's an underground rapper. He's a very good rapper, and his entire the soundtrack was Bengali rap, and it was very cool rap, And most of us did not understand Bengali, so I didn't realize that Q had added his own politics in it. But we were enjoying the music, and while Bose's story was unfolding, Subhash ke boja shakto, which means you don't know, none of you know Subhash, and it became such a cool tune. It's on Apple Music. Check it out, Subhash ke boja sakto. It is such a cool, and he collaborated with underground musicians from around the world for that track, and it became something that the younger audience, otherwise who cares about Subhash Chandra Bose? Who's Subhash? And that's what he told the younger audience. He said, Subhash ke boja, you don't know Subhash. He didn't call him Bose, he called him Subhash.
When Shahid had come, there was Ship of Theseus, there was Lunchbox. So we all thought we are
There was
seeing.
also Bhag Milkha Bhag.
Ha, no, but that was a bigger film. We thought we are seeing the rise of the independent film. Huh? And usse pehle, like in cycles, this has happened. 70s and 80s mein, there was Mirch Masala, Manthan, there was Jane Bhi Do Yaro, there was Ardh Satya. They all came together. So there are hopes that are raised that you now suddenly have the blossoming of independent cinema, and then those hopes are dashed. How would you? Why do you think this happens? Why does it not endure? And how would you characterize a present moment in cinema?
I I think everything has a shelf life. Everything. We unfortunately what happens is what we see is only mainstream because we are so driven by stars, by people, that we look at uh, their ups and downs, and we make that the dominant trend. But everything, when you start telling similar stories, when you believe that what has worked is a formula, formulas will fail. For new formulas to emerge, for new you why do independent films work? Why do good films work? Because they disrupt. Why does a Bahubali work? It disrupts your notions of what Indian cinema is capable of. Why did Lunchbox work? It disrupted your notions of the fact that your hero has to be young, virile. He can be a vulnerable Irfan Khan. He can be Sajan Fernandez, who's listening to songs from Sajan. He can be a Rajkumar Rao that nobody wanted to touch with a Bajpul, with whom I had to make a film for 35 lakhs. In the year that Bhag Milkha Bhag was made for perhaps 35 crores. So we I think it's about rediscovering the spirit and not the formula. It is the spirit of the moment. The same happened in the parallel cinema movement. uh, Ankur, Manthan, Nishant, Sham Benegal, Govind Nihalani, I mean, all pioneers. They made these films that also appeal to an audience, but the it became a formula. People started making the same kind of films over and over again, and it failed. It died only for a new movement to emerge.
No, but the current crisis, there is a sense of crisis and a sense of anxiety in both the movie and the streaming sectors. No, my question is, and I want both of you to come in on this, is it to do with the fact that we don't have the best storytellers are not coming forward, or is it that the gatekeepers are the problem, that these studio executives who actually are looking at data driven storytelling now and telling you where to put the climax and where to bring the star in? Is it the gatekeepers or is it the storytellers?
Well, I think the gatekeepers are the storytellers, and we need to recognize that. And the moment we recognize that, we will reclaim our space. But you see, there's always been a crisis. Any logical person, any business minded person, if uh, they decide to get into films, they'll realize that it is the least profitable business of all. There are many other businesses where you can make much more money, but this is a business of passion. And the moment we recognize that, you see, why was that moment in 2013? It was a magical moment. That moment started with Khosla Ka Ghosla in 2005, 2006. Oi Lucky, Lucky Oi. All that was UTV. It was a passion of one man, Ronnie Screwvala, with his team, Siddharth Roy Kapoor, Vikas Bell, all of them together, I mean, championed a kind of cinema, and along with that, made a race, made mainstream and these films and made them
Spot
work.
Boy used to be there.
UTV Spot Boy, they made it work. Now there's time for a new UTV to emerge. There's time for that because corporatization with it leads to this safety. Everyone wants to keep their jobs because the jobs are very precious. We are living in a country where there's a lot of joblessness. There's a lot of unemployment, and people who rule us don't admit it.
But the released films are doing better than the new releases. Why is that?
It's again, this is social media trend. One re-released film, two re-released films have done well. That doesn't mean everything is done well. You see,
There are many films that have released that have not even seen the light of day in their second run. So that's Bhed Chal.
Bhed
I would bring it down to Bhed Chal. एकदम से एक चीज़ चलती है वैसी ही चीज़ें दोबारा बनने लग जाती हैं सबको वही बनाना है अभी सबको हॉरर कॉमेडी बनाना है स्त्री के बाद so I get a lot of these scripts I as an actor I use that as a barometer so there is a crisis going on because of many things I believe and a lot of them Hansal has pointed out but also there has become a very
formulaic.
yeah that one So that one has become a problem, and also there's a lot of execution of film that's happening and not film making that's happening. We have isolated ourselves in the ivory tower a little, which some people might call Juhu Bandra syndrome. Though Hansal is also from Bandra, it's nothing against him. But there has been an isolation of what of being in the ivory tower for a lot of the industry, and they are now feeling that this is what the audience wants and this and that. So there's a lot of thing, and there's a little room for experimentation. And I think the experimentation is possible now on OTT platforms, though I think they're also looking for KT Galaxy kind of cinema because they want more audience, more subscriptions. So it's, as Hansal said, it's a business-driven thing, and there needs to be somebody who puts down their foot. Hopefully that's me, because I'm going to plant both of them and try and do something experimental enough and in a space or choosing a subject which is larger enough to connect to a larger amount of people, which is going to bring it back. That's why these South filmmakers, I'm doing a movie with a Telugu director and producer. They produce Pushpa 2 and all that, and their way of working is very different. And I was at my wit's end, but I really admire what they do, and it is also because they are still, like the DP, the WhatsApp DP of my director says, I didn't go to film school, I went to the movies. So they are still trying to, make movies about their own culture or their sensibilities, more basic human emotions, which is appealing to a larger audience. We are becoming a bit more intellectualized, which if you go in terms of, a larger audience, it is hard to get to. So basic emotions and telling the stories in the way, like for example, if you look at the movies, the big movies that are doing well, a lot of them have the themes of the commercial movies of Bachchan Saab, मैं आज भी फेंके हुए पैसे नहीं उठाता हूँ, Pushpa, झुकता नहीं है ये वो. So that kind of thing is coming back again. They are just making our films and selling it back to us, but with a bit more rootedness, a bit more, actual characterization. For example, if you look at Pushpa's character, he's got a beard, he's got a crooked shoulder, he's wearing a lungi, he doesn't have a six pack, whereas the so-called elitist filmmakers here are just busy doing the six-pack whole bloody thing, and they are not going into the characterizations and finding the character within and not making enough character-driven films, and finding that rooted character who rises up as the aspiration of all of us is. Like it's the poor want to see themselves represented in a larger-than-life way, and even the well-to-do people also romanticize that itself. So there's a bit of a disparity there, but people are not going to stop watching movies or watching OTT. It's going to be a constant thing. There will be a bit of a shuffle. जैसे मेरी दादी कहती थी, कि अगर अनाज की बोरी में ऊपर नीचे ऐसे अनाज ऊपर नीचे उसको थोड़ा थोड़ा हिलाते रहो वो प्लेन हो जाता है. तो वो होने वाला है sooner or later.
I think, it cannot be a one-way street. The audience also has to participate. Okay, the audience has to participate in ensuring that they get better entertainment, that they get better films. कि अगर आप नहीं जाओगे थिएटर तो हम बनाएंगे नहीं. मतलब अगर फॉर एग्जांपल अभी मैंने सुपर बॉयज़ ऑफ मालेगांव कुछ हफ्ते पहले देखी. इट वाज अ गुड फिल्म, वेरी गुड फिल्म, लेकिन थिएटर में कुछ लोग थे ही नहीं, बहुत कम लोग थे. तो अगर आप जाओगे नहीं थिएटर में फिल्म देखने और फिर कहोगे अच्छी फिल्में नहीं आती है, तो फिर अच्छी फिल्म बनेगी कैसे? सो इट्स अ टू वे स्ट्रीट. आई थिंक
That's the biggest truth.
कि ऑडियंसेस एंड फिल्म मेकर्स, इट्स अ टैंगो. इट टेक्स टू टू टैंगो. एक आदमी अकेला टैंगो नहीं कर सकता है.
Actually, before we open it to the audience, one more question. So we talked earlier about, the mob. So the attack on Kamra. Does censorship of this kind, or self-censorship, because it also generates a self-censorship, does that also come in the way of better films?
These are all invisible barriers. These are invisible barriers. Yes, you do sometimes feel bogged down by restrictions. We are living in a time where, people have become more and more litigious. Litigation has become the norm rather than the exception. कि छोटी बात पे मतलब लोग कोर्ट चले जाते हैं. कोर्ट में कुछ होता नहीं है. They know that the Indian courts function, take a lot of time. I mean, Shahid took nearly, Faraz took nearly 20 months to release, and for nothing. We just kept getting वो सनी देओल की पुराना डायलॉग था, आज लागू हो रहा है कि तारीख पे तारीख. Ultimately when it was presented in court, there was a landmark judgment, about telling true stories. So it becomes a deterrent. मतलब फराज आज भी it is banned in Bangladesh. The story about Bangladesh, banned in Bangladesh. Aligarh was a film about Aligarh, banned in Aligarh. तो वो मतलब it is, so that quasi censorship is far more dangerous. कि that fear of the mob, the extra constitutional censor bodies, they are the ones that people fear. But the CBFC has very clear guidelines. You disagree or agree, the guidelines are very clear. You can easily mold yourself around those. They've been around for a long time. It's the 1952 Cinematograph Act. No government has been able to change it. I don't know why. They can change immigration laws, everything in one stroke, but censorship, the CBFC, the Cinematograph Act doesn't change. It keeps getting amendments. कि अगर if you have such a powerful government, why can't something like the Cinematograph Act change? Because it suits their purpose. It becomes a means of suppression. But we can still work around that. But how do I account for some random body that comes up and says, okay, I am upholding the rights of so and so people?
It happened in my my movie Savarkar on Mr. Savarkar, there was a, they don't have, they asked me for proof for everything. I had to take books, I had to take documents to them and show it to them and do everything. And one thing they objected on when the trailer came out, that Mr. Ambedkar was portrayed as too dark. That was the problem they had. And I said, and he's also
Dark skinned.
dark skinned. And he's also very aggressive in those shots. So I said, what is your reference of Mr. Ambedkar? So they showed me pictures of him much later in the 1950s and his recordings of his rather, articulate self. I said, I am not the person I am now, whether I was when I was 15, 20 years old. Same was with him. He was much darker. He was very aggressive. In fact, he was very aggressive towards Mr. Gandhi and some of his policies. So, and that was the scene when the Mopla riots happened, right? And that was the thing, because somebody somewhere did a demonstration and burned an effigy or did something, and now the censor board is scared of that. I said, but that's not the case. Though I complied and I changed those shots and did all that. But these are the kind of things, because of some unrecognized body somewhere just picks up a thing just to get attention for themselves, for their own political gain, or for their power gain, and they make the ruckus. The normal people really do not have so much of normal people are not so offended. They're only offended when they're faceless on social media, when 10 other people are saying things. But otherwise, normal people are not offended. Everybody understands. Everybody's got a life. Everybody's got a family. Everybody knows our culture. So it is just these, attention-seeking people that create more ruckus than anybody else.
No, when I was attacked, 10,000 people came to watch my apology. And I kept asking them, which dialogue are you objecting to? Nobody knew the dialogue. Because किसी ने फिल्म देखी ही नहीं थी.
बोले यार तुम टिकटें खरीद के फिल्म देख लो, मेरी तो फिल्म चल जाएगी.
हाँ, मैंने बोला कि मतलब अगर इतने लोग देख लेते तो फिल्म चल जाती, और मतलब अगर आप कहते कि वो डायलॉग काट दो, मैं काट देता अगर इतने लोग देखने आने वाले थे. Nobody came to watch the damn film. So मतलब for me that is the satire, the irony of our setup. That the people who protest don't know what they are protesting about.
Please raise your hands if you want to ask a question. Yeah, the lady.
I was
here.
hoping someone would.
And could you please take your name before you ask?
Hi Randeep, I'm Priya. I just wanted to ask you about your forthcoming role. How have you prepared, or how have you prepared for Ranatunga and Jat? I'm sure everybody wants to know.
Going to the gym, going 10 degrees darker, wearing a wig, and just chewing up some scenery. That's about it. It's not very preparation heavy role, though it looks like it just because I'm doing it. But, it wasn't such preparation heavy. In fact, this was one of the films where I said I was a bit of a robot, really. I was not really so involved in it. But it's come out to good effect. Thank you very much. Mike,
Yeah,
then have I
There's
Mike.
a
Hello?
lady here, there's a lady here.
Hi, this is Mani here. I had the business excellence. Wonderful. Thank you so much, SV and Randeep. You rock. And so do Mehta. I actually, मैं ज़्यादा movies नहीं देखता, but I actually liked your role in Sultan. You were the coach, right?
Right. Thank you.
So, that's something very powerful, because we have spoken about a lot of things, but actually the role of coach is very different. So as corporate leader, I firmly believe a coach should be very good. So you played I was telling my wife, Deepika, so that you actually, I do not remember other movies, but that role you played actually very well, because you inspired Sultan to actually be the real Sultan, which inspires all of us.
Thank you very much. It was a 5-day role. I don't know how many minutes it was on screen. It was very short time. I was actually shooting for Sarabjit at that time, and I'd finished the weight loss portions, and I was trying to gain weight. And yeah, I had no idea that it will be of any consequence, but I'm glad that it has traveled, that small role has spoken to people. Thank you very much.
Good evening, sir. My question is for Hansal, sir. So, you're one of the most celebrated directors our country has.
Am I?
I am, of course, you are. So, my question is whether, actually, I'm curious about your take on how, whether it's Alabadia or Samir Raina's satire, uh, Kamra's parody, how does it take a disrespectful turn in our country? Like Veer Das is going to the States, he's performing very well, doing very well. The audience is taking it very well indeed. Why does it not happen here?
I'm going to try not to get into trouble.
Right.
Uh,
Stop the mob.
but I think, if you look at it, a joke is either funny or it's unfunny. And that's about it. Treat a joke as a joke, treat satire as satire. The satire might work, it might not work, and treat it that way. I mean, everybody has a right to, there are more terrible films made than good films. They release, they go away. But what happens with satire, what happens on social media, is that poor jokes and good jokes get amplified. Sometimes the poor jokes uh, become a medium of benefit to distract the larger population from what is really happening around us. So, we should not allow, as people, as citizens, we should not allow the narrative to be diverted from our day to day needs, from our day to day requirements. We have elected people to look after our needs, not after our humor. They are not guardians of our humor, they are guardians of our well being. We have elected them for that, and we need to recognize that. The court has said that in that many words. And our well being includes our freedom to be unfunny also.
If I may, am I audible? Yeah. Hi, this is Karthik Seth. I'm a lawyer by profession, so I'll be specific. I'm a great admirer of both of yours professional work, and at the same time, I just want to admire how Randeep got married and the way in the traditional fashion you got married with the northeastern values and everything. So on the personal front as well, great admirer of how it was done. Just on the point where you're talking about litigation per se, that there's more and more litigation with people now. Mr. Mehta is speaking about that. You made a great film about law and lawyers in Shahid per se, but do you think, would you know any lawyers who would be like Shahid at this point of time? And do you think that kind of like daring and in the profession still exist, especially in Delhi circles per se? Thank you.
Well, there are people, there are lawyers, but I mean, nobody wants to end up like Shahid. You don't want to be shot dead. So there is a price that he had to pay, and nobody wants to pay that price. But yes, there are. I mean, Faraz, the case was fought, argued in the Delhi High Court by Saurabh Kirpal, who himself is, one of the persons who's at the forefront of, gay rights. I mean, whose own appointment as a judge has been stalled perhaps because of his social orientation. So, I mean, it's a very tricky, slippery slope, and I still believe. I've always said that the only thing that keeps our country alive and that separates our country from a country like Pakistan is the judiciary, because politics and police are the same in both countries. The judiciary in India is still, there's a level of freedom. It takes time. So Shahid, there was a dialogue कि वक्त लगता है पर हो जाता है. एटलीस्ट हिंदुस्तान में वक्त लगता है पर हो जाता है, पाकिस्तान में होता ही नहीं है.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Sabha. The first thing I'd like to say is that it's such a wonderful evening because Gandhi and Savarkar can both be on the same platform and celebrate each other and not just tolerate
That should be
each
the
other.
case. You should hear both sides of the stories and you
Exactly.
choose one. Yeah.
So, for you, sir, I have a question. What about Gandhi would you like to add to today's world, in your upcoming movie? And I had a question for you, but I was a little distracted by your good looks, so I.
घूंघट करना पड़ेगा.
As I said, I mean, there's this quote attributed to Gandhi which says, "My life is my message." And I believe that everybody's life, the journey, is the real message, not the quotes. And I believe there are learnings to take from people's lives, their mistakes, their flaws, from their victories, from their failures. I think every tale that we tell is a cautionary tale. Harshad Mehta, for example. I mean, Gandhi kahan bahut dur ki baat hai. Harshad Mehta is a cautionary tale. Did we learn from that? No, we created other bulls. We failed again. The markets fell. So everything is a cautionary. Uh, I think these stories are cautionary tales. The history is a cautionary tale because they say that those who do not know history are condemned to repeat it, and which is why the stories we tell determine our future generations.
There is a lady
Yeah.
who's been wanting to ask a question. She's got a mic now. Sorry, ma'am. You've been raising your hand for a while. I noticed that.
My name is Neelima Dalmia Adhar. As the author of a book called The Secret Diary of Kasturba, I have done intense research about the woman who had to deal with the ordinariness of the extraordinary man.
Oh, God.
So, my question to you, and I'm curious to know, is that in your treatment of Gandhi, have you demonized him? Have you glorified him? Have you humanized him? Or have you exalted him? I just want to know.
I think it's time for. I think you need to see it. I cannot. You see, that's what I say. You have to do something without judgment. I could have demonized him, glorified him, exalted him, criticized him, loved him in equal measure or in unequal measure. But that is for you to decide. That is for you to decide. You've written a book from a certain point of view. I
The
have followed.
most dangerous point of view, by the way, from the wife's point of view.
No. I understand. I mean, I have read your book, by the way.
Thank you.
I have read your book, and it is very enlightening to read it. So I think every point of view needs to be told, needs to be narrated, and I can only tell you that when it is out, do watch it, and then we can talk. Something that is unreal. I have spoken. मतलब मैंने कभी सिलेबस की बाहर की एग्ज़ाम दी नहीं है. मैं मतलब एक्सेप्ट द IIT एंट्रेंस वो ऑलवेज आउट ऑफ सिलेबस थी एंड मैं हमेशा फेल हो गया. तो ये सिलेबस के बाहर का थोड़ा सवाल है. आई एम contractually bound not to speak about Gandhi until.
But this is the watch it sales pitch by Hansal Mehta.
Yeah, until it is available on a platform for streaming. But आप देखिए. I mean, I'm sure you will be happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because without, मतलब मैं इतना कह देता हूँ कि बिना कस्तूरबा के गांधी नहीं हो सकता.
Thank you. That was my point.
या बिना कस्तूरबा के गांधी नहीं हो सकता है. I am what I am because there's a Safina in my life, and Safina is just not a person. It's मतलब it's कश्ती है. वो कि आपकी जिंदगी में सफीना नहीं होगा
किस्सा याद आ रहा है मुझे, बट मैं बताता नहीं हूँ. छोड़ो.
छोड़ बता दे यार.
तो जब कस्तूरबा बा की जब डेथ हुई थी तो पार्टी ने एक फंड चलाया था जिसमें सब फ्रीडम फाइटर्स की वाइफ्स के लिए, विडोज के लिए कुछ कंट्रीब्यूशन सबको करना था और करोड़ों रुपया जमा हो गया था पूरे देश से। तो उसको देख के सावरकर जी बोले कि उन्होंने पहले तो गांधी जी को चिट्ठी लिखी कि भाई बहुत बुरा हुआ सुन के, आई होप यू आर ओके, पर एटलीस्ट तुम्हारे साथ तो रही पूरी उम्र। वो अपने पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बोल रहे थे। तो उसके बाद उन्होंने प्रेस में स्टेटमेंट दे दी कि ये बा के चक्कर में पार्टी फंड इकट्ठा किया जा रहा है। तो उनकी वाइफ ने, सावरकर जी की वाइफ ने बोला ये बात तुम 6 महीने बाद भी बोल सकते थे, अभी बोलने की क्या जरूरत थी। So this was the difference fundamentally between the two men, which I just because Ba thing came up, I just ended.
Hi, my name is Ritika. I work with the Indian Express. My question is for you, Hansal ji. The moment that Vandita mentioned when the mob came after you, she also mentioned that you'd possibly said it in an interview or a tweet that it changed you as a filmmaker. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? How did it change you as a filmmaker? What effect did it have on your filmmaking process?
Well, for one, you see, I had made a film, Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar. The film in question was a film about the migrants, about the outsiders, जिसको हम कहते हैं, you know, the invisible people, the unseen in a city. कि जो मतलब आप गाड़ी चलाते हो, एक बड़े शहर में आप गाड़ी चलाते हो, you see people on the side, मतलब वैसे घुटने पे बैठे हुए, काम ढूंढ रहे, दिहाड़ी ढूंढ रहे. दे आर द इनविजिबल अनसीन जो शहर चलाते हैं लेकिन आपके शहर में देखे नहीं जाते. उन पर वो कहानी उन पर थी कि यू नो वो उन पे क्या बीतती है. आई ट्राई टू टेल दैट स्टोरी. तो उसमें मतलब दोनों ने ऑब्जेक्शन ले लिया. एक तो पता नहीं शिवसेना ने, मतलब वो शिवसेना का बिजनेस था ऑब्जेक्शन लेना, और आज भी है, और मैं डरता नहीं हूँ कहने से. सडनली मतलब वहाँ पर बिकॉज ये हुआ तो कहीं से मतलब कुछ लोग जागे कि भाई आपने, मतलब उसका नाम था राम शरण, मनोज वाजपेयी का. तो उन्होंने कहा कि आपने मतलब इनका मजाक उड़ाया है, किसी ने उनको भैया बुलाया. बोला भैया, ये पीपल टॉक अबाउट इट, इट्स अ स्लर अकॉर्डिंग टू यू, एंड लोग ऐसे बात करते हैं, आई एम ट्राइंग टू शो दैट. तो वो भी मतलब प्रोटेस्ट शुरू कर दिया, मुझे शहर छोड़ के जाना पड़ा. सो आई रियलाइज कि भाई मुझे क्या करना है. मुझे
रहना है तेरे दिल में,
दिल पे मत ले
यार.
रहना है तेरे दिल में. मैं ऐसा होता तो मतलब
नहीं, सॉरी, दिल पे मत ले यार.
हाँ, तो मतलब वो उसमें गाना था दिल पे मत ले यार में, कि दिल पे मत ले यार मर जाएगा. तो मैंने लिटरली ले लिया कि इतना दिल पे ले लोगे तो मर जाऊंगा. कि इफ़ आई टेक द वर्ड्स ऑफ दीज पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज, ऑफ दीज पॉलिटिशियंस टू हार्ट, आई विल डाई. सो आई थोड़ा सा नम्ब हो गया था. आई हैड बिकम अ कोमाटोज फिल्म मेकर. मैंने कहा फिल्में बनानी है ना, तो आई विल यूज़ वॉट एवर आई नो अबाउट द कैमरा, अबाउट शूटिंग, टू मेक, टू टेल द स्टोरीज दैट आई बिलीव पीपल वॉन्ट टू सी. अच्छा वो चल जाती ना तो आई वुड स्टिल बी डूइंग दैट. नन ऑफ दैट वर्क, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली मुझे 10 साल लगे ये रियलाइज़ करने को कि जो आपका कन्विक्शन है वही लोगों तक पहुंचेगा. बाकी सारी चीज़ें मतलब आप कुछ भी करो नहीं होगा. You have to do it with conviction. Unfortunately for me and my family, वो conviction मेरा इन्हीं कहानियों में था जिनमें मतलब I sort of poke the conscience of the establishment. तो मैंने कहानी उन्हीं कहानियों को कहना शुरू किया, विच शायद वो दौर दोबारा शुरू हुआ. एंड ठीक है, आई हैव नो रिग्रेट्स कि अब मर जाएगा तो भी क्या होगा.
अभी आपने बोला कि आप शिवसेना से नहीं डरते हैं, आप कंगना रनौत से डरते हैं क्या? Because you keep getting into run-ins with her.
No, I'm very fond of her. मैं आपको सच बताता हूँ, I'm very fond of her. मतलब I cannot describe जब कैमरा, when you put the camera loves her, when you switch on, and मतलब अभी भी मतलब outside the Lok Sabha also the camera loves her. कि when you switch on the camera, what she does, even I don't think she's aware of what magic she can create in front of the camera. We did not get along. हमारी नहीं बनी. होता है, मतलब I did not get along with my ex-wife also, but she was perhaps a better person than me. तो it's not a judgment on the other person. हम लोग लड़ते रहते हैं, but I think I'm very fond of her. Honestly, very fond of her. The process of making the film that I did with her was not very good. एंड कई बार वो प्रोसेस रह जाता है आपके पास, फिल्म नहीं रहती है, प्रोसेस रह जाता है. प्रोसेस इसलिए रह गया कि कर्ज मुझ पर आया था. आई हैड टू पे ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, लॉट ऑफ डेट्स, एंड इट वॉज अ बिट ऑफ अ पेनफुल जर्नी पेइंग ऑफ दोज डेट्स. सॉरी, सब्जेक्टिव है. मतलब लॉट ऑफ पीपल, मतलब हर फैंस टेल मी इट्स द बेस्ट फिल्म यू हैव मेड.
Thank you so much.